So we've all had a couple of weeks now to see and process Infinity War, and in the absence of any watchable movies coming out this week, I thought I'd take a moment to talk about an idea I had for what could come next in Avengers 4. Naturally, that means spoilers for Infinity War, so if you somehow made it this far without getting spoiled some other way, I suggest you bail out now and go check out my spoiler-free review. I'll put a link in the description for that. Okay, so the main reason I liked Infinity War so much is that it gave me the one thing I absolutely needed to make it worth the hype. Thanos wins. The best I thought I could hope for was Iron Man or Captain America heroically sacrificing themselves to stop Thanos from getting that last stone, but instead, like most people, I was shocked to see that none of that happens. Thanos gets the Infinity Stones, snaps his fingers, and half the sentient life in the universe dissolves into dust before our very eyes. Even more surprisingly is that it was all the new, super profitable Marvel heroes that got dusted rather than all of the ones whose contracts were up. Spider-Man, Black Panther, Groot, most of the Guardians of the Galaxy just gone. And as much as I wish Marvel's balls were gargantuan enough to allow that to stand, we all know the mouse at least isn't going to leave all that money on the table. Hell, Spider-Man's next movie is scheduled to come out right after Avengers 4. I mean, yeah, they could pull a huge misdirection and have Miles Morales take over for Peter Parker in that movie, but it'd be pretty damn early to effectively reboot Spider-Man again, not to mention Black Panther and Guardians and all the rest of them. So despite assertions to the contrary from guys like the Russos, we know those characters are coming back, and we know that the snap is pretty much going to have to be undone in one way or another. Probably with some time travel or quantum realm stuff, courtesy of Ant-Man. The main thing, though, is that it just can't come lightly, or it's just going to undermine everything great about Infinity War. And if it doesn't come with a really high price tag, not only will it ruin Infinity War, it'll destroy any sense of stakes for any future Marvel flick going forward. The obvious solution is just to go ahead and give us the heroic sacrifices we thought we'd get with Infinity War, but I had an idea about how we could restore the universe without having to very predictably kill off all the people whose contracts are up. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys in this video. It's centered around the coincidence of there being 6 original Avengers and 6 Infinity Stones.
Why did you say that name?
Calm down, Batman, I'm not talking about a Martha scene. I'm talking about costing each Avenger something really important without taking their life. You can probably still kill them off afterwards, but the point here is just to make restoring the universe exact the toll rather than just having sad things happen along the way. That way we get to keep the weight of Infinity War, undo our snap, send our old cast into the sunset, and yet maybe leave the door open a bit for something in the future. Now, I'm not going to write out a whole movie here because as fun as that would be, it'd just make for a stupidly long video, but there is a little setup I think we need to do in order to establish some things in order for my idea to work. Firstly, the surviving Avengers would have to reunite pretty much at the beginning of the film. Say Hawkeye joins up with Cap and the remaining Wakandans who are desperately trying to restore some kind of order to Earth, given the chaos half the population vanishing would cause. Tony, for his part, can demand Nebula take him home so he can find out if he's lost Pepper too. It would need to be a bittersweet reunion that quickly devolves into recriminations, I trusted you to protect the Earth, and arguments about what to do next, so that the repercussions of Civil War and the sheer scale of the loss from the last movie are still present. We know from the stinger that Captain Marvel has to come in at some point, and that would be a good a time as any, so let's say she arrives then. She wants her some vengeance too, and given her and Thor's powers, they decide they'll go find Thanos and either force him to undo what he's done, or they'll kill him and take the gauntlet and try for themselves. Nebula offers that there's really only one place he'd go, which is Gamora's old homeworld, so they arrive to find Thanos is living the quiet life, doing some farming, and otherwise enjoying his sunsets like he ends up doing in the comics. At which point, the Avengers kick the ever-living crap out of Thanos. Catharsis for all of us, big action sequence, the works. Somewhere in there, maybe we're given a reason to doubt Captain Marvel's intentions. The gang demand Thanos undo what he did. He scoffs at them, asking why they think their battle has gone so easily in their favor this time. And then he holds up the gauntlet. It's wrecked, like we saw at the end of Infinity War, but more importantly, the Infinity Stones are all inert. He couldn't fix it if he wanted to. Now, a lot of things can happen in here, like one of the Avengers just killing Thanos in a fit of rage, but essentially we want to point them back to Red Skull. You can do what I'm going to do with Thanos himself or some other entity in the Marvel Universe, but I think the novelty of seeing Cap and Red Skull together again makes it worth it to do it this way. So Rabbit takes everyone except for our original 6 Avengers back to the Forge to see what can be done about the gauntlet, and the rest of them go to visit Red Skull to see if they can restore the stones to working order. Now you could play this a dozen different ways, making each hero have to go on their own journey with Red Skull to guide/torment them, but I'm just going to act it out like a sort of a group scene because I think that makes it easier. So there'd be some banter between Cap and Red Skull since they're just seeing each other again for the first time, but eventually they're going to ask the million-dollar question, how do we restore these stones? Red Skull explains, "As you well know, Captain, no real power comes without sacrifice. And even then, there are no guarantees." Cap stiffly replies, "You're saying we'll have to kill people then?" "Nothing so mundane, Captain. It's easy to throw away a life. No doubt each of you has come here expecting to give away your own, if necessary. The stone's power is beyond that. They require you each to sacrifice of yourself and live with the loss." Tony quips something like, "Cut to the chase, Skeletor. Each of you has a unique gift, one that derives from the very same elements the stones embody. You will need to give it up. Can you live with a piece of yourself missing, something that makes you who you are, gone forever?" Hawkeye asks, "Like what? We're gonna have to throw our stamp collections in the pit?" "Mr. Barton, do you know why it is you are so lethal with that bow and arrow in a world of much more powerful weapons?" "Practice?" "One could practice to become a skilled archer, yes, but you have made shots that should be beyond even that of a god. It is because you have an innate mastery of the space around you, a feel for the very fabric of the universe and how objects rest in it. Could you stand never hitting the target again, no longer capable of protecting your family, unable to watch your children grow up? Or you, Miss Romanov, how will you exist in this world if you are unable to reinvent yourself, to use your talent for deception to alter your own reality? Or you, Thor Odinson, what will you be without the power to wield that axe? A mere mortal, no longer capable of defending what's left of Asgard." Wait, why would Thor be power? Shouldn't that be the Hulk? And we could do a little dick measuring there between Thor and Banner if we really want to have some comedy, but "The Hulk is quite formidable, but is he not more than just raw strength? He lived as you slept for years, another soul making its way through the world. Would you find it so easy to cast him out and consign him to oblivion, Dr. Banner? I'm certain Mr. Stark understood from the very first moment, cursed as he is with the power of the mind. What if you could no longer create your Iron Men, Stark? Would Miss Potts want to be with a man who could no longer challenge her intellectually as you do? And even if you were to bring back the rest of the universe, what will it do without you to solve the next problem it faces, and the next, and the next?" Tony looks away in anger and a hint of shame. Red Skull turns to Captain America, but before he can say anything, Steve simply says, "Time." "Indeed, my dear Captain, you and I have both been given far more years than we could have ever hoped for. Who will you be able to protect with your body wrecked by age? How can you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders if you can barely stand yourself? And before you make the decision, if any of you has a moment's hesitation, the others will have given up their essence for nothing. Can you really trust your friends to make that kind of sacrifice for a gamble? Can you even trust that she," referring to Captain Marvel, "will restore the universe as she promises? Once you give up your gifts, none of you will be in a position to stop her." Silence descends among our heroes as they contemplate the consequences. Then Thor breaks the ice with something of a joke, that his new friends Rabbit and Tree can guard the galaxy for him. Hawkeye says he's been trying to retire for a while anyway. Whittle looks meaningfully at Banner and says she's lived enough different lives now and is ready to just be herself. Cap meets Tony's eyes. Harkening back to their conversation in the first Avengers, he says, "Hey, I'm just a soldier. It was never my job to carry the entire world, just to lay on the wire and let the next guy crawl over." Tony smiles sadly and remarks that the kid is smarter than he ever was anyway. Banner says he'll miss everyone. That starts an argument where he explains that they'll need the Hulk now more than ever, and now that the Hulk can control himself a la Ragnarok, it's best if he stays and Banner goes. They step up to whatever mechanism will do this extraction, and we watch as the power is sucked out of each of them. Cap ages rapidly, Hawkeye's eyes glaze over, Thor's lightning fizzles, Tony grabs his head in pain, Widow's hair reverts to its natural color. Before Banner can do whatever he's supposed to do, he starts to Hulk out, and the two wrestle for dominance. Ultimately, Hulk wins out and drags him to whatever the mechanism is, and Hulk says,
"Banner strong now, but Hulk job to protect puny Banner. Hulk go on new adventure. Hulk's friends protect Banner now."
And to Banner's horror, Hulk is sucked out of him into the Soul Stone. The stones glow once more, and our heroes stand without their powers. And again, we could do a lot of stuff from here. Red Skull could steal the stones and power up and beat the crap out of them, or we could just go get the glove and re-snap, or Thanos could show up, or what have you. But the bottom line is at the end of the movie, our heroes have lost what makes them the remarkable people who could fight the battles that nobody else ever could. We see some of the consequences, like Tony not being able to keep up with something Peter's saying, Hawkeye kind of fumbling around while playing tag with his kids since he can't really see anymore, Banner catching his reflection in something as he's working, Widow doing something mundane and looking bored out of her mind, Thor needing help to pick something up and move it, the aged Cap wistfully watching the next generation of Avengers train from his chair. With that, we see the hope of future Marvel, all the characters who still have room to grow, using their powers and zipping about. Cap and Tony share a look and a nod. It was worth it. Roll credits. So what do you think of this idea for Avengers 4? Does that go far enough for you, or do you think somebody absolutely needs to die? Let me know in the comments. And if you guys enjoyed this little bit of theorizing, maybe I can do more like this in the future, in which case make sure to subscribe and hit the bell thingy so you can be notified when I do. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time for my review of Deadpool 2.